Today is the feast day of Saint Catherine of Genoa, and a little bit about her. Catherine Fleshy was the youngest child of 5 children born in Genoa of an aristocratic family. Her father, a former viceroy of Naples, died when Catherine was 14. 2 years later, for political and financial reasons, her brother arranged her marriage to Giuliano Adorno, a member of a rival family. The marriage was not happy, and 10 years after Catherine alternated between seclusion and social activity, and there were no children, although her husband had at least one child by a mistress. When she was 26, Catherine experienced a religious conversion. About the same time, and it's not clear which came first, her husband became bankrupt. Catherine began the work of a social worker, going into Genoa's slums to help the sick and poor. For the first years of this work, she sheltered aristocratic women and had great difficulty and overcame in her physical repugnance at dealing with very poor and very ill. By 1477, Catherine's husband had begun to help her in this work. He later became a Franciscan tertiary. Catherine herself never became associated with any religious order. In 1479, the couple moved into rooms near the large Panettone Hospital for the poor of Genoa and worked there without pay. In 1490, Catherine became the director of the hospital and worked successfully to improve the institution's financial situation. By 1493, the plague had come to Genoa and killed 80% of those who had stayed in the city. Catherine supervised those Genoese who, like her tertiary husband, cared for the dying. In 1496, her husband died, and she resigned her position as director, although she continued to work full-time until 1499, when her health began to fail. During the 10 years before death, Catherine wrote about purgatory and described her beliefs about purgatory, and she saw the place of joy rather than physical suffering. She also wrote that what became the first part of the Dialogue of Spirituality, a witty conversation embodying the internal conflict she had undergone between her spiritual goals and her bodily desires. It was also during this period that she accepted for the first time a spiritual director, her successor as head of the hospital, who he would write her Vita. A group of disciples gathered around her last days of her life, and some wrote down her words and were with her. Others recorded what they remembered about her death. Her closest disciple, the young noblewoman Ettore Venezia, whom she had met during the plague, gathered these notes, which would become the last 2 parts of the dialogue. Some years after Catherine's death, her writings and those of her confessor and her disciples were published together, and this is what you will find in the outline of her life and doctrine.